Episode 8, The Relationship Anomaly. Now, I don't care who you are or what your status is, I am encouraging you very strongly to listen to this episode because I promise you this will be applicable to you. This will probably be applicable to just about everybody, if not everybody, that is going to watch. So please take the time. We live in a world where you hear a lot that's been turned upside down on all fronts, that everything from politics to common standards and ethics to just about anything that we thought we once understood has has been completely turned upside down. And relationships are the thing that people like to every here and there dabble on, say, they want things to be the old way, that they want relationships to go back to the way they used to be and have those kind of older practices, older standards. But that's nothing more than just a one or two liner that never extends past that one conversation, at least with most people. And what I mean by that is relationships do not get the time and attention of as a topic as they should be getting, or as it should be getting, excuse me. Relationships now are awful. I mean, witnessing it, I'm not going to say mine in the past was terrible. We were both very immature at the time, very young. So I can't even relate to my own personal experiences. That's the only relationship I've ever been in. But just from what I've seen, and again, not everybody, I'm not going to say every relationship I witness is awful, but the standards, the boundaries that are not even set, or if they are set, they're ridiculous and extreme. But everything is just horrible. And I'm not one to judge because I know it sounds exactly like I am judging, but in the same right, I'm just trying to promote a little bit of a message here for those who are either not in relationships and how they can prepare themselves maybe a little better, as I have been trying to myself, or people that are in relationships, maybe they want to take what I'm saying, even if it's just with a grain of salt, and maybe try and critique a few things, if any of it makes sense. Again, I'm not the all-knowing, I'm not the wisdom seeker of the age that knows all things. I'm not, and as much as I'd like to be, that's probably next to impossible to be. So, please take what I say and try and apply it to your own life. If it's something that you think is extreme, you don't want to give a try, I'm not here to tell you have to. But anyways, I'm going to jump right into this. And this one is huge, especially for people my age. I'm 22 years old, so anyone around my age, really. And that is patience being crafted. If you are one, and I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings here, but maybe sometimes that's what it takes. If you are one to jump from a relationship to relationship to relationship, do you truly think you are allowing yourself to be crafted and to be shaped into the man or woman God has created you to be? Into the person that God has created to be in perfect harmony with somebody else. You think you're being formed perfectly? Do you think you're allowing God to work in your life by going from one relationship to the next? You're not. I don't know if maybe you convince yourself that maybe you're getting more experience in different scenarios with different people. Well, you're lying to yourself because that's not the case at all. Actually, what you're doing is setting yourself backwards because the fear of being alone, as I've made other videos on, is astronomical in your life. The fear outweighs the pursuit in your heart for a greater relationship, one that actually has the chance of longevity, one that is producing something formed around longevity. You're not getting that if you're constantly in a relationship. You can't. You just physically can't. And yes, being alone, isn't always the best, not the most fun, and people can like to throw it around, that around the holidays it could be, even more lonely and more whatever. But I think that's all the more, that makes you appreciate it all the more. Just like anything else in this life, literally anything that is worth anything probably took time, probably took some pain, or something along the sort. You can't just have all sunny days and expect to appreciate it the same every time. Eventually it gets boring. I don't care how beautiful it is. You have to experience the loneliness, the ability to be on your own, so that come the time that you're in a relationship, you can operate independently and thrive. And at no point in a relationship do I believe they have to be two separate entities at any point. I believe you're joined in one. In holy matrimony, you become one body, one mind, one spirit, essentially. But there'll come times where you're not glued at each other's waists, and it's healthy not to be. I'm actually about to talk about that even more in a little bit. To be separate at times is crucial. I mean, you look at these relationships nowadays, I don't care how old you are, that spark you get at the beginning, everybody knows that spark. That emotional rush that you feel when you first start talking to somebody. That is one that makes you want to be with that person 24/7. And is that good? Have you convinced yourself that maybe you just found the right one and now you're comfortable in them? And now because you have them, now you just completely look off the relationships you have in your life now with friends and family? Does that ring a bell? Whether it's you or somebody else you know? Well, if it doesn't, then maybe you should open your eyes and ears, because I guarantee you that's happened either to you or somebody around you. So, please take that into consideration. Because that spark, I'm telling you now, that spark, that emotion at the beginning, as beautiful as it may seem, and how frequent we find ourselves saying that it's love, it's not love. I'll tell you that right now. It's an emotional rush, and it is the easy step, the first step, that is the passion step, the step that takes no discipline and no effort to feel like it's the world it's the world has stopped spinning for you, essentially. The world has stopped, time has stopped, everything. It just revolves around you. That's the feeling. And that's how it is in anything, in relationships, in business, in life. Whenever you start something, 99% of the time, it is going to feel magical. It's going to be so easy that no discipline is required until you hit that wall. That's how it is in everything, and your will to succeed is tested time and time and time again. How are you preparing yourself for that? Are you establishing discipline from the first day, or you just act solely off emotion? Because usually one who acts solely off emotion in one facet of their life, it usually applies to every other part of their life. Whether you're lazy in the gym or lazy at work, it usually is going to, even a little bit, maybe, at the least, translate into the other. If you're a couch potato, I wouldn't assume that you go to the gym and absolutely destroy your body for an hour or two, whatever, or anything like that. It's applicable on all fronts, and you gotta acknowledge it. And with relationships, you gotta establish discipline from the start. You have to. You absolutely have to, even if it means forcing yourself to only see each other no more than twice a week for the first couple months. And what is that going to do? Well, I'll tell you right now, that is going to make each time you're together all the more magical. That spark will just grow, and it'll last a lot longer than if you were to be together 5 days a week for the first 3 straight months, 6 straight months, and then you wonder why everything seems to fall apart when that spark goes away, when the spark fades, and then your will to succeed, as I said, is tested. In this case, it's not success as much as it is, fighting for the person that you care about. But that's how it is in everything. Your will to succeed, figuratively speaking, is tested. And it's everywhere. You can't avoid it, so stop trying to hide from it. And with keeping the spark alive, kind of having things to look forward to, things to want to pursue, I'll tell you right now, this is the thing right here that I'm about to say that people are going to think I'm crazy. People my age that know me or don't know me, whatever, think I'm crazy. They're going to say it's not worth it, or they're going to say, they're not religious, they don't want to. But waiting for marriage, waiting to experience that sort of connection with another human body, an art that was created by our Lord and Savior, to experience a true act of love. That's a true act of love. And waiting for marriage to experience that intimacy is so important. And I'm not saying you should do that just for the sake of having something to look forward to. It's a sacrifice. It's a discipline. You're fighting off your bodily urges. You're fighting off, or I'm sorry, you are establishing self-control over your body, controlling it and not allowing it to control you. And what's the most common cliche, the most common response I get to that every single time I bring it up to somebody who is of this faith or not is, well, I just want to really express my love for them. I think that's just the most beautiful way to express your love for another individual. And that's why I don't know if I could wait till marriage. You have really convinced yourself of that lie, haven't you? You have. I truly believe you have. Because that no matter how many times you want to tell yourself, is not why you can't wait till marriage. It's because when you get that feeling that you want to express yourself in that way, that you want to experience that feeling, that sensation that comes with sex, you want to do it because it feels good. That is the reason why. So please stop trying to convince yourself otherwise. And this isn't just about moral strength and being, having that mental fortitude to move on with this, but it's about having God at the helm, and that's why so many people that don't want to acknowledge God as their Lord and Savior, that they just want to, live this life where they serve all their pleasures. That's what they do. They literally go through their day serving every single desire that their body has. That's not going to get you very far. I mean, there's people that are fighting the urges of pornography and what that could do to your body and what that does to your relationship, what it does to your mind, and they're fighting tooth and nail for that. And they're fighting with everything they have. And there's people that just laugh about it and just give into it and promote it and just love talking about it like it's a game. And it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting what it is. And, it's the people that are actually indulging in the content themselves, people that make those sorts of videos, those are the people that you really got to pray for the most, because, as much as people want to say that they enjoy those things and that they do it because, the money's good and they enjoy the act of what they're doing, you have to believe somewhere deep down, at least in a handful of individuals that do it, that they are not happy, that they are actually just spiraling downwards, whether they realize it or not. But the reason I even bring that up, the whole topic of it, is because it just destroys relationships, absolutely destroys relationships, and just like all other things that God created, just perverts it and corrupts it completely. And that's why as individuals we need salvation. We need the act of the cross, because we are just, at heart, we're just, evil. We're corrupt, and it's because it's a culmination of everything that we've learned and seen over the years from when we were born to where we are now. And, I don't think many people are converting their lives to this faith, giving their life to Jesus Christ at 4 years old, at, 10 years old, before they're exposed to so many evil, perverted things. And that's the problem. Just talking to my buddy about this the other day, and while I was kind of frustrated and struggling and all these things, and he's telling me, he made a really good point. It's like, yes, this faith is far more powerful. God is far more powerful than anything you've experienced in your past. But to think that just because you've devoted your life to this faith that you're going to shake, maybe 8 or 10 years, if not more, of bad habits, just terrible habits, then you're mistaken. You're greatly mistaken. So that's not an open door to go willingly act sinful and to do things that are going to destroy you, destroy your relationship, because, it's just what you've been prone to seeing. But it's about having that patience that it's going to take time. You want to become the perfect partner. You want to become, a role model for not only other men or women, but for other people that are striving to have better relationships. It's going to take time to be formed, to allow God to form you. And it's not going to happen from bouncing from relationship to relationship. It's not going to happen by trying to build up this mental fortitude outside of God's wisdom. It'll never last. There is no sustainability in trying to endure all these things on your own and by your own strength. That is it. That is entirely it. I want to move along here because I this kind of dragged on a bit here, this first few topics. But another one that might get a little heat for this, and it's okay. I have a few buddies of mine that feel the same way, and some that don't, but it is what it is. And that is the older tradition of having a stay-at-home wife. That is something I've always been excited about, something I've always looked forward to, something I always kind of dreamt of, and not because I want that power of being the one who brings in the money, not because I want to, be the dominator, figuratively speaking, that is, of the household. But as men, yes, we are to be men of the household, and I believe that's how it should be, the final decision makers, essentially, if it would ever come down to that. This is not from a standpoint of saying, I just put my foot down whenever I feel like it, and you do as I say, like I'm a tyrant. That'll never last either, and I would never want that. Who would want that? Some people need that sort of direction sometimes, but to have that all the time, that's not a relationship. That's living under a tyrant, and that's not what I want. But with a stay-at-home wife, again, that's not I'm not saying that's something I would only settle for, but the reason I like the whole idea behind it because I'm a big believer in, people playing their role. And I'm not saying that a wife needs to stay at home. I'm not saying the woman you spend your life with needs to stay at home. That's not the case at all. Just staying home twiddling their thumbs. That's not it at all. I brought this up many times in the past as well. My mom worked 20 plus years and then during COVID got laid off. It was a family business that she wasn't part of the family, but it was a family owned business and they kind of fell apart during COVID and she decided to walk away. And finding work at her age now it's been tough and she beats herself up. But what I've seen as her being a stay-at-home wife, a stay-at-home mom, she is working, to a point just as hard, if not harder, some days, obviously, as my father, who works construction and absolutely breaks his back, busts his butt every day for this family. And it could be tough. It could be equally as tough because when you're out, you're working, you're busting your butt to make a buck, and you want to provide for your family. But as watching my mother do it, it's solely discipline every day because she's not bringing in a separate source of income. But she's the glue to this family. If she was working out, if she was out working again, 8 or 10 hours a day, whatever, commuting to and from New York every once in a while or a couple days a week, this family would fall apart because she's the glue to everything. She keeps the house operating. She keeps the family intact and running. It's crucial. And still, she doesn't sit down ever. Can you imagine a world where you don't have a job? Yet from the second you wake up at 7, whatever in the morning to when you go to bed around 10, 11, 11:30 at night, you don't sit down. Like you're constantly on the move, always having jobs to do, always having roles to fulfill, things to do. That's incredible. And it is a duty and it's strictly a discipline. I could give more credit to most stay-at-home wives than I can for men that go out and work. I don't care what it is they do because it is strictly discipline. Getting up in the morning, fulfilling their duty, their role in this relationship, in the marriage, and doing it just because it has to get done. There's no joy in that. There's no fulfillment in going grocery shopping and doing the dishes and doing laundry and in doing household things or chores or labor. There's no joy in that. There's no pleasure in that, but it gets done because it has to, because that's the role of someone to get done. And I have such a great respect, for women in that situation, not only because I've seen it, but it's just, I could never imagine doing it myself. I'd lose my mind. I really would. But it takes discipline. It takes character. I mean, it's a reflection of who you are, and it's pretty incredible to watch when you actually witness it firsthand. But the problem that comes with that is that when roles are that, sorry, my chair's a little squeaky. When roles are that precise, it's very common in the generation we live in, and even old times as well, if we're being honest, that the man in that situation can very easily, very commonly be seen as, the dominator, again, figuratively speaking, that, he brings in the money, so he calls all the shots around the house because she's just a quote-unquote stay-at-home wife, just does chores, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, if they switch roles, I guarantee you the man probably couldn't do the same job or keep his sanity and get up every single day and do it without complaining, And that's the problem because you need to keep each other grounded. You need to rely on each other. I don't care if somebody has to work 16 hours a day and the woman does nothing, she doesn't have to work a single hour of the day. You still need to rely on each other equally. Yes, I'm not saying, let me rephrase this. You need to rely on each other equally because, yes, there'll come times when you come home from work and you're just that bruised and beat up and you kind of just want to let all responsibility go and kick your feet up. And every once in a while, that's great. And I'm sure, you find the right woman. I don't see why she wouldn't, be more than happy to kind of cover your role in whatever it is has to get done around the house or when you get home from work. But to become that every single time you come home is how marriages fall apart. And that's where the definition of love comes in, because everyone loves to throw love around like it's an emotion. That love is just what you feel towards someone. That's not love, because then you just love everybody. And of course, you should have love for individuals, but to genuinely love people the way Christ has called us to love our brothers and sisters in Christ and to love our significant other and our children, that is a different type of love, an unconditional love that was first established on the cross and is still present in our everyday lives from our Creator. So, you want to talk about love, that's love. Love on both fronts there. You come home from work, you're that bruised and beaten up, but you say, you know what? we were going to go out to dinner tonight, or I promised you I was going to do something special for you, so we're going to get dressed up. I'm going to suck it up. We're going to go out to dinner, and we're going to have a good time. Or the other way around, you're that bruised, you're that beat up. The wife could say, you know what, I know we had plans tonight, but I see you're really, really beat up. You had a long day at work. Just kick your feet up, relax. We can stay in tonight, and then we can go out over the weekend or something. That sacrifice, that's just a small version of what love is. When the spark fades, when it's not there anymore, and of course it's a lot easier said than done, that is when love is put on display. In my opinion, you ask me, love is action. Love is what you put forth when the spark is gone, because that spark doesn't last forever, and eventually there's going to come a time when you have to fight for the spark. Those first 6 months, even up to a year, I'll give it in some cases. That feeling you feel, my friend, that is not love. It's not. Love should not be so easy. You should not just wake up and you just feel like you're head over heels for that individual. I mean, that's great to have that, but that's not what love is. That's just strong emotion. Love has to be put on display, or else you would love every single person the same way that you came across. Because that's just an emotion. If you devote any time to somebody who's like-minded and you guys get along, then it would just be the same sense of love, and that's not how it's supposed to be. That kind of commingled two things there that I wanted to cover, but love is action, man. You can't tell me otherwise. It's not an emotion, because that's not it. And I was one of the few, or one of the many, excuse me, that felt that was it, that I felt love, and in reality it was two teenagers who just had strong emotions for each other. It's just gets thrown around way too much, man. Thrown around way too much. I love you, this, that, and the other. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. No, you really don't. You really don't. And in most cases with social media and how big of a role that plays, I mean, you're putting it on display how much you don't actually love the other one when, there's no real trust. There's no real trust at all. Extreme levels of insecurity. I mean, chips on people's shoulders nowadays, like the size of a watermelon. Anytime that they walk out the door together, it's like, okay, I got to be on the prowl, make sure no one looks at my girl the wrong way and all these things, make sure I keep an eye on her. It's like, why do you want to date somebody that you have to watch every second of every day because you think that they're going to act immoral, unholy, or unloyal to your relationship? Who wants that headache? Why would anyone want that headache? I don't understand. I don't know if it's because you've been in the relationship for a long time, and the idea of breaking it off would create a lot of trouble for you. It'd cause a lot of heartbreak, something you don't want to experience. But for those of you that are like still newly together, or even before you get into a relationship, you just know that, again, not judging the other individual, thinking they're bad people, but like just for your own sake, why do you want to be in a relationship where you have to constantly be on the lookout? I just don't get it. And that's when it comes like, oh, okay, well, those people are hard to come by. We're talking about your significant other for life. Because when you date, I don't know if maybe this is uncommon too, you should be dating to marry. Yes, you don't meet the person and say, hey, you're my wife, but every time that you engage in a relationship with another individual of the opposite sex, that's very prevalent too, people just dating whoever they want, man or woman. When you engage in a relationship with a man or woman of the opposite sex, you should be pursuing longevity. Maybe that's a healthier way of saying it. You need to be pursuing longevity, the long game. Being in a relationship just because you're bored, just because you're alone, you're just going to spiral downward. You're just not going to, oh man, it's just crazy. It's like some of the things that you talk about here. It's like, I feel like it's just so common, but I lived in that same position for a while, so I get it. But I just don't get it. If you're pursuing a girl or a guy because you think that's, they could be the right partner for you for the long term, why entertain something that is going to cause you a lot more headaches than any pleasure, anything good? I don't understand. And I never will. But you see that in just about every relationship you have nowadays. It's more so just to say you have a significant other, someone to post on social media that you're not alone. And that is it just looks desperate. I'll be honest with you, and I'm not adding anybody with this. I say these things. Of course, there's a couple things that could come to mind of people I know, but they're all great people. Every single one of them. There's no one that comes to mind that I genuinely think is a bad person, that is weak, that is at nothing. None of that with this topic comes to mind. But I understand why it can be tough. It can feel like you're stuck. I get it. I get it entirely. But if you're pursuing the right one for you, you need to let go of the fear of pain, because whatever dreadfulness, burden, and weariness that will come with the long game, longevity, with the wrong partner that there's no comparison. There's no comparison. The pain you'll feel from a lifetime of dreadfulness with the wrong person does not compare to the pain you'd feel, positively speaking, from just breaking things off in this given moment. It will suck. It may not feel like it's worth it, just like the lies you get when you first wake up in the morning, when you're in the heat of the moment and tensions are high. Nothing ever makes sense, and you always just want to go back. And you want to pursue the easy route, which is going back to what you know. And that's always how it is in life. If you're trying to break off an addiction and then something entirely separate in your life goes wrong, you naturally what? You want to run back to what? You want to run back to what you've always known, the addiction, the thing you're struggling with. That's how it is in relationships. When you break off with somebody, you're going to run to what you know. Usually that being their ex, the person that they just broke up with, or another person. For what? To either fill the void or to make the other person jealous, or the grand salami, both in one. In one. When it comes to going after another individual, that is. Going to pursue another individual to not only fill the void, and make your past significant other jealous. I don't know. I just think it's a thing of maybe faith that I learned. A lot of these things are very childish, very immature things that are just not even worth your while anymore. And I say all these things, again, probably going to get, if there's 100 people watching it, probably 99 people telling me to, go kick rocks or something, or pound sand, because I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to try and prove that I'm right. I just wish you'd even, and then there'd probably that one individual, of course, that hopefully at least that'll take into consideration. But the point being with this, I just hope that you felt it was relevant, that in the slightest bit you felt it was applicable to your circumstances, because I know it is. I just hope you do. And again, I emphasize this every single video I make, because it's so important. I am not perfect. I don't think I'm perfect. Matter of fact, I think I am so far from perfect that it's laughable. And I say these things because I believe it's a sort of God-given wisdom that everybody can have. It's not that only I have it because I'm special. Everybody could pursue the same level of knowledge really, wisdom, whatever you want to call it, just by pursuing God, by pursuing faith. You could establish whatever little bit I claim to know, and then 1,000 times more. But you just got to devote the time and allow God to work in your life and to pursue him in a way you've never pursued him before. And believe it or not, putting a Bible verse or a piece of scripture as a tattoo or as your bio on social media, believe it or not, this is crazy. It may be shocking to you. You're not a true devoted believer. Yeah, you heard it here. Putting it in your bio or inking it up on your body, which I do have on my body, is I'm not, so who am I to talk really? But what I'm saying is, it takes a lot more than that, than to be a true devoted believer. To call yourself a Christian, a Catholic, anything on social media, you never know. You never know with somebody, and I'm a big believer in questioning authority, which of course is applicable in this circumstance. Who am I? You could always say that. Who is this kid? Who is this guy to say he knows what he's talking about, and why should I believe him? And, I could try and put it into action. I could give words. Anybody could really give words. But essentially, if I had to put it and paraphrase into one thing, is that I'm just telling you now. Yes, I'm pursuing a better life. But in the same sense, I'm not one that could be bought out. I'm not one that will ever trade this life for, or trade eternity for the sake of money and wealth and success, fame, whatever you want to call it in this life. Never. And I can't be rattled in that sense. I'm living for the next life, not this one. And in doing so, you always want to pursue a better life while you're here, one that's worthwhile. And hopefully, with what I'm saying, you guys can take it. Maybe in some sense, find it applicable in your own life. Find that it was worth something, and then maybe that'll be my my way of putting love and knowledge into action. So if you want to find out if what I'm saying maybe is worth something, and I'm not just another guy on social media throwing it around for the sake of clout, put some of what I'm saying into action and see if it does something. Hopefully, I hope and pray it does. Not because I want the fame from it, or because I need people to know that I gave them the wisdom. I don't care for that. I don't. I want you guys to find peace. I want you to find harmony and love. And there are a few people that come to mind when I think of some of these topics, and I really hope and pray that, because I know that they're tremendous individuals. They're great, and I've some of them I've known for a very long time, some I've known short term, but all of which are just great people, and I really hope that they can find this and take it and run with it, because I think there's a great deal of value in it. But anyways, I think I'll conclude that there. I touched on just about everything I had here. And I really hope this provides some value to you guys, not to sound redundant there. So, that being said, thank you guys for taking the time. I really do. I'm not sure if I mentioned in the beginning, I'm kind of losing my mind here, that episode 7 of the podcast here, I wasn't able to upload it. The War in Your Head. I don't know, on YouTube, that is. On Spotify and Apple Podcasts, it's up, and a few other places as well. But YouTube, it wouldn't let me. I'm not sure why that is. Hopefully, it allows me to update or upload this one. So, if you're looking for that, you can find that on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but not on YouTube, unfortunately. I have all the clips on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well at The Unwavering Believer. And yeah, that's all I got. Try putting some of these things into action, guys, and let me know how it goes. All right? I love you all. Thank you so much. Until next time, God bless.